Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I'd love it if you could leave a comment letting me know where you're listening from around the world. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe if you're enjoying this video. Story 1. I never believed in evil. Not really. Not the kind that creeps, that watches, that waits in the dark with patience older than bones. But now, every night, when I lock the door 3 times and check the closets and look beneath the bed with a flashlight and a hammer in my hand, I know better. Because I lived it. It started simple, harmless, almost laughable. I just moved into a small flat near Sadar, Karachi. Second floor, corner unit. Quiet. The kind of place where even the fans sound bored. The neighbors were distant, but polite. I liked it that way. I worked from home, writing product descriptions for a tech company. Boring work, but it paid the rent. The first odd thing, my toothpaste. I always close it. Always. But some mornings, I find it uncapped, squeezed from the middle, like some impatient brat had used it. I told myself I was tired. Maybe I forgot. I'd laugh, shrug, move on. Then there was the glass, one I never touched. Clear, tall, from a mismatched set in the cabinet. One morning it had water in it. Not much. A sip, maybe. I chalked it up to fatigue. Maybe I did use it. Maybe I forgot. We all forget things, don't we? But then came the note. I still remember that night, like a wound you can't help but press. I went to bed late, around 2:30 a.m., after binging a few YouTube videos. Locked the front door, locked the bedroom door, even placed a chair under the handle. Not because I felt scared, just a habit. The world's a strange place. Sometime before dawn, I woke up. No noise, no dream, just a cold breath in the room that hadn't been there before. I shifted on the bed, and that's when I felt it, something under my pillow. I reached beneath and pulled out a folded piece of lined paper. My heart started to race before I even opened it. It was handwritten in neat, almost childlike letters. You look peaceful tonight. I didn't want to wake you. I can't explain the feeling that hit me. It wasn't just fear. It was dread, thick and crawling, like 1,000 spiders under my skin. My breath froze in my throat. My eyes scanned the room, the locked door, the windows. Nothing looked disturbed. Nothing seemed broken. I didn't sleep that night. Just sat in the corner with my phone, hands shaking, staring at the note, back at the door, and then again at the empty space beneath my bed. By morning, I was half convinced I dreamed it, but the note was still in my hand. I called the building manager, a fat old man named Hamid who always smelled like beetle leaf and sweat. He scratched his chin, looked at the note, and said, "Probably your imagination, Beta. Maybe you brought it in with your laundry." He chuckled, then walked away. That night, I bought a camera. Just a cheap motion sensor thing from the electronics market. Set it up to point directly at my bed. I didn't sleep. I just waited. The camera didn't beep. No alert. No sound. At exactly 3:17 a.m., I felt it again, the breath. The weight of something unnatural hanging in the air. My body froze, eyes wide open, barely able to blink. I wanted to scream. I didn't. I just waited till morning. When the sun came up, I reviewed the footage. It's burned into my memory like acid. At 3:16 a.m., the room was still. Then, from beneath the bed, something moved. A hand, pale, thin. It reached out slowly, pulling the rest of the body with it. A man, average height, wearing a loose white kurta, the fabric wrinkled and stained at the collar. He crawled out from under my bed like a roach, silent and calm, like he'd done it 1,000 times. He stood, stretched his neck, then leaned over me. Just leaned, inches from my face. I could see his shoulders rise and fall, breathing me in. Then, with such care it made me sick, he pulled out another note and slid it gently under my pillow. He didn't look at the camera. He didn't flinch, just retreated back under the bed. I nearly threw up. I ran, left everything behind. The camera, the furniture, even the bloody note. I stayed at a friend's place that night, barely able to speak. When I showed the footage to the police the next day, they watched it in silence. One of them, an older officer, crossed himself when the man appeared. They searched the flat, tore it apart, but there was no sign of him. No fingerprints, no tools, nothing. They even lifted the bed. Nothing, except scratch marks. Long, thin lines on the wood floor under the bed, like fingernails clawing for space. They never caught him. Weeks passed. I tried to move on. Got a new place, far from Sadar. Changed my locks. Never lived on a ground floor again. But then, one evening, I came home to find something odd. A glass of water, half full, sitting neatly on my kitchen counter. And beside it, a note. I still watch, but only when you sleep. So now I don't sleep in beds. I sleep in chairs. I keep every light on. I check the cameras obsessively. I moved again, this time to a flat with no space beneath the bed. Just cold cement. But deep down, I know it doesn't matter. He doesn't need space. He just needs silence, and darkness, and time. Story 2. I was 17 when it started. Just a regular kid. I played a little guitar, had acne on my chin, and thought too much about the future and too little about everything else. We lived in this quiet neighborhood in Atlanta. One of those places where every house looks like a copy of the next. Rows of trimmed hedges, mailboxes that never tilted, and porch lights that always went out at exactly the same time every night. Perfect, safe, predictable, until it wasn't. The first time I saw him was in December. It was cold, cold enough that my window fogged up from the inside, and the breath from my mouth curled like smoke. I'd woken up randomly. I remember glancing at the clock. 2:13 a.m. Weird time, but I was thirsty, and maybe I just had one of those dreams you don't remember after waking. I sat up, rubbed my eyes, and that's when I saw him. A silhouette, tall, thin, standing perfectly still outside my bedroom window. I thought it was a trick at first, shadows cast by a tree or something. But then he moved, or rather, he didn't. That was the thing. It was the kind of stillness that makes your bones ache just looking at it. Like time stopped, and something was standing in that frozen moment, watching. I closed my eyes, opened them again. Still there. I didn't scream. I didn't even move. I just pulled the covers up to my chin like a 5-year-old and laid there, heart racing, staring at the outline of this man who shouldn't have been there. He didn't knock, didn't wave, just stared. By morning, he was gone. I told my dad. He looked out the window, then turned back to me with a face full of doubt. "It's a tree," he said, pointing at the tall birch just outside. You imagine the rest. Or maybe it was a dream. But it wasn't. Because the next night, at exactly 2:13 a.m., I woke up again. And he was there. Same spot. Same terrifying stillness. The wind pushed at the branches, but the silhouette didn't move. Not even a flinch. I didn't sleep the rest of that night. And for the next week, I made myself stay up, phone clutched in my hand, eyes glued to the window. Always at 2:13. He always came. Always left by dawn. On the sixth night, I got brave, or stupid. I snapped a photo. I wanted to show my parents proof, shove the truth in their faces. But when I looked at the picture, nothing. Just black static. No shape. No man. Just a jagged, corrupted image like the inside of a broken television. My stomach dropped. I took another. Same thing. Just darkness that seemed to buzz with something evil, something wrong. That morning, I showed my mom the photo. She said the file must be corrupted. Probably my phone's fault. But I saw something in her eyes. Doubt. A flicker of fear she tried blink away. We called the police. They came. 2 officers with padded jackets and warm smiles. They checked the yard. The snow was untouched. Not even a squirrel's track. One of them gave me that look adults give teenagers when they don't believe them but don't want to say it out loud. Stress, they said. Maybe cut back on horror movies. I hadn't watched a horror movie in weeks. And still, the man came. It got worse. One night, I tried to stay downstairs, away from the window. I curled up on the couch, telling myself I was being brave. But at 2:13, I felt something. A presence. Heavy, like someone was in the house with me, breathing behind my neck. I ran back upstairs, looked out my window, and there he was. Same place. Waiting. Not outside. Inside. He stood behind a glass. On the inside. As if he'd been there all along, just waiting for me to come back to my room. His eyes. I couldn't see them clearly, but I felt them, like 2 nails being driven into my soul. I screamed. My dad came running, but by the time he flipped the light on, there was nothing there. No man. No open window. No sign of a break-in. Just me, shaking in the corner, pointing at nothing. They almost sent me to therapy. Almost. But then, one morning, maybe a week later, I was brushing my teeth, trying not to look at my reflection too much because I looked like hell. Pale. Hollow. Eyes red from sleep deprivation. And then I saw it. Written in the condensation on the bathroom mirror. Closer than you think. My heart stopped. Literally, I think. Just a beat. A pause in time. I backed out of that bathroom like I was walking away from a cliff. No one else was home. The door had been locked. No windows open. I didn't go back to my room that night. In fact, we moved a month later. My dad got a transfer for work, and my mom suddenly couldn't stand the house anymore. Too cold, she said. Too many bad memories. We never talked about the man in the window. Not once. But here's the part that keeps me up even now, years later. I'm 24 now, live in a new city. Nice apartment. No trees outside the window. I keep blackout curtains drawn tight at night. I go to sleep early. I try not to wake up randomly. But sometimes I do. And when I do, it's always at 2:13 a.m. Always. And I never open the curtains. Story 3. I should have trusted my gut that night. It was just past midnight when I stepped out of the hospital, tired to the bone after a double shift in the ER. My feet hurt. My back ached. All I wanted was a hot shower and maybe 5 hours of sleep before I had to be back in scrubs again. So I called an Uber, like I always do. Nothing unusual. The car pulled up, silver Honda Civic, plates matched. The driver was a man in his late 30s. Black hoodie, 5 o'clock shadow, tired eyes. He smiled as I got in. "Long night?" he asked, glancing at me in the rearview mirror. "Very," I mumbled, digging my phone out to check my messages. He kept talking. "Too much. You a nurse? You smell like antiseptic and vanilla." I didn't laugh, just said, "Perfume." He chuckled like we were old friends, sharing an inside joke. Then a pause. "You got a boyfriend waiting up for you." I didn't answer. I tapped at my phone, pretending I was too distracted. He didn't ask again, but the way his eyes kept flicking up to the mirror made my skin crawl. When we reached my place, I got out fast. "Thanks," I muttered and hurried through the gate to my apartment complex. I live on the 3rd floor, small building, nothing fancy. As I reached my door, something made me turn around. There he was, still parked across the street. Lights off, engine off, just sitting there. I stood frozen for a moment, staring. I couldn't see his face through the windshield, but I knew he was watching me. My stomach turned. I quickly got inside and locked the door behind me. I texted my friend Sarah. "Creepy Uber guy. Still outside. Not sure if I'm overreacting." She texted back in seconds. "Not overreacting. Call the cops if he's still there in 5 minutes." But by 3 a.m., when I finally gathered the courage to peek out again, he was gone. No headlights. No car. Nothing. The next morning, I told myself it was nothing. Maybe he lived nearby. Maybe I was being paranoid. Maybe I was just overtired from the shift. But then things started to happen. The first was a cigarette, but on my windowsill. I don't smoke. No one in my building does. It sat there like a little warning, burned down to the filter, still smelling faintly of menthol. I threw it away and tried to forget it. 2 days later, I came home and found a flower taped to my front door. A white daisy. No, just taped there with masking tape. I laughed out loud. Out of nerves, not humor. Who does that? The third incident was the worst. There was a napkin stuck under my car's windshield wiper, handwritten in thick blue ink. "I miss our talks." I nearly dropped my keys. My heart thumped like it was trying to punch out of my chest. I looked around. The lot was empty. No one watching. No strange cars. No hoodie guy. I reported him to Uber. Gave them everything. Trip history, the time, the license plate. They suspended his account immediately. Said they'd escalate it to their safety team. But that didn't make me feel safer. I moved. Took a transfer to a different hospital. Changed apartments. Changed my routine. Changed my damn name on social media. Even stopped tagging locations on Instagram. For a while, things were quiet. Peaceful even. I started to think maybe I was free. Until last week. I got a letter. No return address. Just my name, misspelled slightly, and my new apartment's address. Inside was a photo. A photo of me, standing in front of my building, holding my groceries, wearing my green hoodie. It was taken from a distance, like through a zoom lens. But it was clear enough to see my tired eyes and the crease in my jeans. I couldn't breathe, couldn't move. Just stood there holding that damn photo like it was a bomb. I hadn't posted any pictures of myself in weeks. How'd he find me? I called the cops. Filed another report. They said they'd look into it. Said they'd keep an eye on the area. But I could hear the disinterest in their voice. They thought it was just a harmless admirer. It's not harmless when you wake up at 3:11 a.m. and see a shadow moving across your balcony. It's not harmless when you hear a knock, slow, deliberate, 3 taps, and no one is there. It's not harmless when someone knows where you live, what you wear, and how you smell. I've started sleeping with the lights on, my knife under the pillow. I don't take Ubers anymore. I walk or ask coworkers for rides. I double lock everything. But some nights, especially the quiet ones, I still feel it. That eyes on me feeling. That breath on the neck chill. I think he's still watching, still waiting. And I know this isn't over. Not yet. Because this morning, there was another flower. White daisy. Masking tape. Taped to my bathroom mirror. Inside my apartment.